Hello and welcome to the Gator's research group. My name is Franco. We have Alfie here as well. And we're going to be showing you how to conduct and start a research on astrological research. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at starting up with the premise, and you decide on your topic that you're going to research. So we're going to be looking at a couple of topics here today, and the first thing to do is to start off with hypothesis. So you could do two ways. You could start off with a hypothesis to prove an astrological concept, such as the study that I've performed on breast cancer, where the moon rules breasts. We know astrologically that the moon rules breasts. So then you can start seeing, are there afflictions to the moon that would result in breast cancer? So that's one study. The other type of study is to just do kind of like, it's more of shotgun approach, where we test everything to see what comes up. Because normally you think, okay, Mars is good for athletes, Sagittarius has athletes, but then all of a sudden by doing the buckshot approach, you realize that, maybe athletes have the sun in Gemini, or have a certain configuration such as Saturn. It comes up strong. So there's two ways and two approaches. One of the things that we're working towards, though, is to come up with a model so that we can actually test and see, where we can input people such as doctors and see that, yes, these people are doctors, and no, these people are not doctors. Or A, you'll have breast cancer, B, you will not have breast cancer, or the potential for breast cancer. Again, it's about looking at models, creating models to run them through a neural net, artificial intelligence. That's our ultimate goal, is to create models. And when we say models, sure, we're going to look at astrological criteria, but then what happens is that gets inputted into a neural net, which is a form of artificial intelligence. And we're not going to touch on that today. But this is what we are looking to build up to, and running a neural net. And the neural net will allow us to plug in data of, let's say, doctors. You're studying doctors, and say, yes, these people will be doctors, or no, these people will not be doctors. Okay, so let's get started. And I'm going to pull up my little crayon here. So when you get the software, you will see down here, this is the Air software button. And what we're going to do is open this up, and you get this window. So then here you have the other Air software modules. And the one that we want here is this one called Fast Research. So we're going to click on Fast Research, and this is the window that pops up. So as you can see here, there's different sections. So this is section 1, and I'm going to call this one 1B. This is 1A, and this is section 1 here. Section 2 here. Section 3, and this area here is 4, and this is 4A, and this is 4B. So let me talk a little bit about these sections here. In section 1, you'll see that you have all these controls along here. Now, this is where we input data. So here we have our data where we can load, erase the data, save the data. We have options, tools, and a couple of other controls here. We'll get back to that. This section here is called control groups, where we could set the level of control groups. Here's the algorithm. We could convert files, their synastry, and Davidson charts, where we could create Davidson charts for sets of couples. Now, our primary focus, we're going to focus on some common settings, so we don't have to worry about converting or the synastry. In the algorithm, so this is how we can distribute the algorithm of the charts that are created for the control group. Random real age is normally the setting that we use, or you can do random distributed age. So random real age is normally what we do. Control group. Okay, now when you're conducting a research analysis, you have your sample group. So let's say in the case of breast cancer, you have X amount of charts for breast cancer. Now, you want to test these against either a random group of charts, general population, or you can have a set group. So we have two options here in the FAST research program. So if you're working with the randomly generated control group, you can control the amount of control group. Normally, when we're running this, we like to set this to 50. And I'll show you what happens with that once we get some models loaded up. Now, in this section here, this is where we can load up a data file. Now, I'm going to give you a couple of examples here. Diabetes, okay. Now we can open it here, and let me move this here so you can see it. So we have the option to delete double charts, and normally we set that up, and that's a good thing to have on there. This one here is the test group size. Now, the test group is used for when we calculate the neural net. So when we're doing our initial study, this test group here is normally set to 0. And you have an option of setting a filter. Now, normally in this data here, we have all these people here who have diabetes. You see how everyone comes up and they all get stored here in section 1A. So if I delete that, and I'll show you what happens when we run the test group here. So if you're going to do a neural net, we're going to take this and we're going to set that to 25%. Now you see that the data group has been randomly selected here, that 75% of the data is in 1A and 25% here is in 1B. Now this is so that we can run the neural net because it needs a test group. So when we're initially working on a data set, we do not use the test group. So because you want to use all the data here. Now, I want to make a point for those of you who have done scientific studies. The 25% is not your testing group to compare your model that you work to. Now, what we normally do is we'll have a separate set of data that we can test, but when we're running the model, we want to use our whole group. Later on, if you're doing verification, you use a separate set of data. So let's say you collect 1,000 charts, you might want to work on 750 of those charts, and then save 250 for your verification to make sure your model works. But that is not what this 25% is here. This, again, is just for running the neural net. So we'll keep that in mind. So again, this erase button gets rid of that. I also want to show you what this filter does. Now, if I come down in here to my data files, and we've got weather, and let's say we'll pick this one here. Now we're going to set this to 0. Now whether we have set up where we've set up our data file where A is rain, B is snow, just for example, or in breast cancer, L is for lung. And if you've got a whole data set and let's say we're analyzing the weather and we want to check rain. So we're looking for anything that is B. So what it will do is it will filter out all the data here from file. Let's try that again. Weather. Moon. And we're going to say filter, and we want to check filter, A. And it pulls up all the ones with A, be it rain, snow, I can't remember exactly right now, but it's actually pulled up all the ones that have A and filtered out all the rest. So that's another thing that we can do here. Now, let's call up our data set here again, and we're going to go to diabetes. I'm running this file here. Okay, test, no filter, delete double charts. Boom. So there's our data. Now, we have a choice here in events, standard only and non-standard. If we work with a standard, there's some preset models created here, and it will check planets in the zodiac, crosses, quadrants, positions, house cusps, planets that rise before the moon, borderline placement here, planetary movement. It checks whether the planets are retrograde, direct, and whether they move fast, slow, stationary. So if you have all these on, this is some preset data that you can just quickly run an analysis and see what comes out. So if we run this, I'm actually going to change, okay, the test group here is F5 just so it runs faster. Oh, right, let me go back to this. So test group, control group. The amount of control group, if we're using the standard control group, what this will do is create 5 files for every piece of data. So 5 random files. So what this is kind of generating is kind of like the general populace. And so normally we like to have 50 per, but for sake of expediency, because I have all this on, you'll see how many calculations this is going to run. So right now, it's creating 5 files to check and verify the data set here. So right now, with the control group set to 5, it's running almost 2 million calculations. So we're going to check this. You'll see that there's going to be a whole bunch of results shown in 4A and then 4B, and we'll get to that. Well, actually, we'll get to that later. So let me clear this out. So we have different options here. Oh, and then we have the no standard. So you can pick no standard when you want to create your own model. And we're going to get to that soon. Just kind of want to go over all the points first. So aspects. So you could set your objects, your standard objects here, house cusps, ascendant, north node, what kind of aspects you want as your typical ones. You could set your orbs, sun, moon orbs. So I'm going to knock that down to 7. This is for setting and examining different transits. This here, you can use heliocentric if you want. Other orbs, occultation, high-low planets, you can set that option. For house rulerships, this is where we set this is not where we set house rulerships. So don't use this section. I'll show you where to set that in a second. And this gives you a histogram of the charts across the years, so you can see the span of your charts. Let's go back to the data. options. I didn't quite finish off pulling in the data yet. So the options here, you can set your house system that you want to use. Now, if Fast Research is set up to use tropical astrology, if you're running sidereal, you cannot use Fast Research. So it's not set up for sidereal. But again, here you have all the different house systems that you can have. Placidus comes up as the standard. But you could do Regiomontanus, Campus, Coke, Porphyry, Whole Sign. You could set up all of those. Whole Sign house system, you can also click here. Take parallax into account. Rulerships, you could set up your rulership so that you're working there. Now, when we were talking about modern and classical, this is where you set your modern and classical house system. So you click on this or click on this. So today we're going to be working in modern. And then you can also customize aspects, add in your own. So if you like to play with oddball aspects, you can create them in there. Tools, this pulls up different modules. We're not going to get into that right now. The control group, again, this is a testing group where we're going to compare our sample group to the control group. Right now we have it on generate automatically, so it's going to create right now 5 per. Or you can choose your own. Now you can create your own control group, okay? So when you're generating a control group, you could do non-equal or equal. I like it random, so generally I keep it that set to non-equal. All right, so now this window is the results window. Once we built up a model, we can test the results. So let's go back here. I'm going to change this just for sake of expediency to 2. So what this is going to do is for every person listed here, it's going to generate 2 charts. So if we go back to standard only, and I just want to illustrate the results here, we're going to hit calculate. So this is going to run a bit faster. Now, notice here, there's a couple of settings. For those of you who aren't familiar with chi-square distribution and what that means and what probability factor means, there are some excellent websites. We'll put them up on the Gator's page, both on the web and our Facebook page, where you can check out and see what a chi-square distribution is. So basically, chi-square distribution, in a nutshell, it's more of a probability factor, and what it does is it shows you the probability of a likelihood of if something's going to happen. So, for instance, let's just quickly go over this. If you have a room full of astrologers and you say, how many people believe in astrology? And you're in, let's say, Timbuktu. Some people will conclude, oh, look, everyone in Timbuktu believes astrology works. But if you take it out into the general populace of Timbuktu, you'll find that people who believe astrology works is only maybe 10%. So to say that everyone believes astrology works is false. It's also kind of like if you go into a Ferrari dealership and you see all red cars, you make the conclusion that all cars are red. That's not quite true, because if you go to all the dealerships, you'll see that red is probably one of the minor colors. So that's, in a nutshell, that's what chi-square does. It compares your test results, what you find from your sample group, and compares it to the general populace or your control group. So we got a few settings here. Important or all events here. Because I ran this whole gamut, there's thousands of things coming up here, or hundreds. But I want to show you there's positive here. negative. These are all the negative, and I'll explain that in a second. So chi-square distribution. Now these are different chi-square equations set up by a PhD that was working with the group and Alfie in programming the software. She's got different types of chi-square distributions based on different sample sizes. Here, as you can see, we have 97 charts that of people who have diabetes. Now you can see that down here. There's 97 charts. Here's how many are in the test group. As you can see here, there's 0 there. So, because we have a small group, we use chi-square 3. Now that's different than this chi-square, and I'll show you in a second. Chi-square 3 is for small data sets. Chi-square 2 you would use maybe if you had more than 500 or 700, and chi-square 1 more than 1,000 pieces of data in here. And then there's other Z1, Z2, Z3 over here as well. But we generally work with chi-square, the chi-square models. Now, I've set this to chi-square 3. So you see we've run all these tests on the sample group here, and we find that it's kind of hard. You'll see it in the video probably a bit better. Let's see. So the third house has Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces. That comes up 36 occurrences out of these people. And the average control group, so all the random charts that we tested, have 18 occurrences. So this comes up as a high chi-squared. So you can see here it gets listed as often. So that's what positive is, and it's red. So think of it. Red is getting warmer, getting hotter. You're hot, right? You remember playing that game when you were kids, right? And so therefore, blue is seldom and something that does not occur often. Where here Venus in the 6th house only occurred twice with these diabetics versus the control group average, which was 11 occurrences. And so chi-square probability gets marked down as seldom. So it's cold, you're getting colder. One of the things I want to start off with in research, one mistake might be that you might make is to say that I'm only going to look at the positives. Now that's great if you're just doing a cursory analytical analysis where you're looking at it, or does this chart have A or does this chart have B? That's great. However, when we get into running the neural net, the importance of hot and cold, or positive and negative, or often and seldom, is that we want to use a filter to look at a chart and say, yes, this person has a lot of positives and this person has a lot of negatives, so you can filter them out and separate the charts. And that's important in this neural net. Okay, so here with this button, we can examine all the positives. We can examine all the negatives here. Or you can look at them both. So this one's important. So now the chi-squared. Where's the chi-squared and the probability? So this first one here has a chi-squared of 15.6, which gives it a probability factor of 100%. Now keep in mind that the computer is calculating all these equations. It's running tests in the background. So if we come up here, there's a button here, you can see chi-squared. So what we can do is we can set this button to chi-squared of 8. Let's go chi-squared 10. So as you can see, it truncates the list. So you could set, like in this one here, there's a lot of data. So we might not be concerned with the lower chi-squared values because we have a lot of data. Here, if we set the chi-squared to 10, you can truncate it at 10 and only look at the highest contributors. Now again, you can adjust your windows here to get a better view. Now, if you see here, we have important only, and then view all results. So we got it at chi-squared 10. So as you can see here, we have a lot more that have chi-squared above. No, this is showing them all. Okay, so as you can see here, some are ranked as often, and some and seldom, and some have asterisks. When we're looking at important events only, these ones that are starred out do not meet the criteria of what we're looking at for chi-squared and probability. This is ingrained in the program. And again, Alfie has worked with PhDs in statistics to create the equations, the models, and the testing for this. So this is all included in the software. And I'll show you this when we get into a more localized model. Now, the other thing you could do here is you can look at your Gauquelin sectors as well, which is an excellent feature in this software. You could check here's the sun in the Gauquelin sectors. You could check the moon in the Gauquelin sectors. So it's a wonderful program. You can do, it's very powerful. Jupiter with all these where they fall in. So if you're into working with the Gauquelin sectors, you can do that. And okay, so let's get back to these windows, and we'll continue more as I show you examples how to work through this. So in 4A, this is the results that we get. Now 4B, this is a repeat of this. And what these are going to be used for is for running the neural net. So down here you can see create neural net. So it's taking all this as the important stuff and filtering it into the neural net. And again, that'll be a separate video on its own. Now, there's a couple other things here. 2D synastry, we're not going to worry about that right now for these kind of studies. That's a whole separate module on its own. Okay, so basically we've got this. Oh, and the other one is the number of occurrences. You can set for the number of occurrences as a minimum that you want to allow as being worked into the important data. Normally we find that setting it at 5 is the default. So again, what it'll do is in order to, as we change this, if we set this to 20 and hit OK, you'll see that some of these drop off. And ones that were important have now been flagged as unimportant. Again, this is ingrained into the program, inherent in the program, and it works with the probabilities based on how many minimum occurrences you want. So again, normally for most of our work, we keep this set at 5. We found that seems to be give the best results. So let me erase all this, and now we're going to work on creating a model. So we're going to go non-standard here. Now, if we go to, okay, so we got diabetics loaded up here. If we go, a lot of people have this book, the rulership book. If you go to Rex Bill's book and look up diabetic, you will find that Jupiter and Venus come up as 2 of the main contributors to diabetes. So what we could say is, here's our premise. Let's see what effect Jupiter has on the diabetic chart. So now we can start analyzing Jupiter to see if, yes, in fact, Jupiter is, or B, no, Jupiter has no effect on diabetes, or not as much as you'd think. So again, this is a way of proving that astrology works, and which is one of the things that we'd like to work on and also find evidence. For instance, in my breast cancer, the moon having rulership and dealing with afflictions to the moon, I was able to work and create a model that comes up and shows that yes, the moon does rule the breasts, and afflictions to the moon do come up, and you can build a model that can predict breast cancer, 95% of the charts strongly. So obviously, there's more work to be done as well, but in this case, we can look at it. Another example is, sometimes you get these astrologers who go in and they've got the 5 hand-picked charts, and they'll do a whole talk on how if you have the sun square Pluto in fixed signs, that you're a murderer, right? And well, we've got 200 charts of murderers. Let's check that. We can verify that. Actually, we've done that and actually found that it doesn't come up as a significant indicator. In fact, it only picked out about 5 out of the 200 charts. So, we can filter astrology. We can also look for new things. So, for instance, lawyers have or if you're in the army, the sun is in Aries, right? We can show that, maybe the sun is in Virgo. You're tactical general. You like to look at all the details. Anyway, moving along here. So let's develop our own model. So what we do when we want to develop our own model, we set this to no standard. Now, we have our data all sorted out here. So they're all loaded in. Now we go to this window here. Now we've got a couple of options. We've got plus, minus. So if you've got a set of criteria and you want to add 1, you can add that. Or you could subtract one of the criteria here. You can look at dignity as well. Normally, usually leave this set. As far as dignities, normally the classical. You can use modern dignities, but again, we normally don't work with that. The eraser button, the save, model editor. Okay, so here's diabetics. So by Rex Bill's book, we know that Jupiter, or we suppose that Jupiter has an effect on diabetes. So 97 people with diabetes. We come here and we can look at positions. Now you can look at all these different factors, stelliums, front, backs, zodiacal aspects, angles between days of the week, if that factors in, planetary hours, gravitation, let's see, double position, chart similarity, that's not in here, fundamentals, we can look at and set the various settings there. Where are we here? Waxing and waning, planetary speeds, rising before dispositors. You can do a whole set of dispositor studies, options, fundamentals, waxing and waning. So let's start off with just the basics. And again, we're going to work with just the main Ptolemaic aspects. I guess a lot of people like working with the inconjunct, so we could throw that in there. The other thing that we could throw in is the parallels and counter parallels as well in aspects. But first, let's look at position. So let's work through that again. We're going to call up this one. So this one here allows you to do bulk uh, um, characteristics or points. And you'll see there's two buttons up here. That's grayed out, that's light blue, that's light blue, that's grayed out. Now this means use all encompassing, and I'll show you that in a second. So first for position, we could clear everything. Since we're concerned with only Jupiter, we can just click on Jupiter, and as you can see, Jupiter comes up in there. Now we want to check out Jupiter in signs. So we click all, and then what we can do is add to the list. So as you see down here, you've got Jupiter in Aries, Taurus, etc. So this is how we go about building a model. So we go click OK, and as you can see, it's going to be down here, and this is what we're testing. So up here, you're going to get all of them. Down here, we're only testing Jupiter in the various signs. Now, there's other things that we can do here. So if we're checking signs, maybe cardinal signs might be important. So here, if we do it this way without clicking that, you'll see that it just puts them down there, but we've already got these down here. So clear the list. Okay, cardinal signs are selected. If we click on that to gray it out, we just get Jupiter is in cardinal signs. Clear, succeedant, that's still grayed. It's fixed signs. Clear, cadent, mutable. We can say OK, so that gets added to the list. Now the other thing that we can check too is, are there fire signs? Again, I didn't click the blue, so there we go. Fire signs. Clear, earth. Clear, air. We add that. And finally, water. Hit OK. So right now, what we have here is a model or preliminary check. Now, usually what I like to do is I like to save this. So I will come in here and, oops, diabetes. So I could save Jupiter in signs. So I could save it here. As you can see, I've already saved it. I've done it. Now, we're going to set that back to 2. Now, if in the chi-square of 2, I just want to point out, a chi-square of 2 is a greater than chance. Like if you're flipping a coin and you get a chi-square of 2, it's better than chance that the result's going to be positive. So that's why we set that to 2. Obviously, if you've got 600, like when we ran all of this, then you could set it at a higher one so you could filter out and eliminate some of the noise down below. But generally for these kind of models, we're going to run this. Chi-square 3, important. We hit calculate. So what comes up as important? Oh, that was pretty fast. I have a control group of 2. Yeah, well, this is actually a good time to show you this. So with the 2 control group, Jupiter in Leo comes up as a contributor, and Jupiter in, as seldom, and Jupiter in Taurus comes up as often. So what happens if we set this control group to 10 and recalculate it? We get more. Now let's check it against 50. So again, it's going to take longer. The more data you have, and working with 50, it's going to take longer. So when you have a larger control group, you can see there's nothing important now. That's not to say that there were none in there. So here's all the occurrences that have happened based on these people here. So as you can see, the actual Jupiter and fire signs is 15. 20 is in the average control group, so that would rank as seldom. But based on the control group, based on the data here, nothing is significant. So it's not to say that, it doesn't happen. It does happen, but statistically, it is not significant. And if we think about it logically, Jupiter it takes a year to go through a sign. And so, the probability of someone having diabetes with Jupiter in that sign, obviously you're going to have people born with diabetes or develop diabetes in their life over the course of their life. They're going to be born any time of the year, any year, right? So Jupiter going through a sign, well, obviously that didn't work. So here's another thing. So let's go. We could develop that model again by going. Let's check houses. Maybe Jupiter in the houses has something. So we could click all, and we add those to our list. Now we could come back here, clear, so cardinal houses. Oops, clear the list. I forgot to click the little blue thing, so clumps it in there. Come up here, clear, succeedant, cadent. You always have to clear because it's going to remember the previous ones. Cadent houses. And then you clear that, and you can run through and check your fire houses and all that, and work through that, but and build that up. But instead, or you could call up something that you've already done. So I've got here. That's my Jupiter results. Jupiter model. Boom, I've already got it done. So I've broken it out into fire houses, succeedant houses, fire, water, earth, air, and all that. So we can run that. And that's calculating. There we go. So now we've got some results. So Jupiter in houses does come up as a contributor. So you can see here, we could do all events. These ones here with the asterisks, based on the 5 occurrence minimum there, they come out blank. And so the important ones here are only going to be this. So Jupiter in the 7th house occurs seldom, and let me explain the seldom and often again. And the example I like to use is basketball players. Here are my basketball. Well, they need hands. Okay. And here's Yao Ming. Okay. Now, here's our height chart. Obviously, Yao Ming's over 7 feet. 6, 5, 4. If we're looking to establish, someone walks towards you and you want to know, and this is the same thing as looking at a chart. Someone's walking towards you and you want to try and determine, is this person a basketball player? Well, you look at this guy here who's 4 feet tall. Sure, he might like to play basketball, but is he going to be in the NBA? No. He's 4 feet tall. They'll crush him. Yao Ming is 7 feet tall, and Yao Ming will be a basketball player, more than likely. So what seldom is, and it's important because consider a chart to be a person, right? So is a person tall or short? And if we're doing a study on basketball players and you get a person's chart and it says they're 4 feet tall, then you know that they're not going to be a basketball player. And again, that gets recorded here for running the neural net. Oh, this guy here is 7 feet tall. He's going to be a basketball player in the NBA. Boom, put him in the chart and in the model, so he gets weighted. So seldoms are equally as important as oftens. Now, obviously, if you're just going to be looking at a chart and you want to see what's going to be there, you only want to look at the positives. So let me erase that. So here we have positives. So this is in the Eastern Hemisphere, comes up as often. Jupiter in the 10th house comes up as often, and Jupiter in the first house comes up as often with a 3.6 chi-squared. So that's a 94% probability. And again, the negatives here. So what comes up as negative? Jupiter in the descendant or 7th house, or in the Western Hemisphere. So if we look at both positive and negative, right? So here are the two hemispheres. So as you can see, 61 of these charts had Eastern Hemisphere Jupiter, and 36 of those charts had Western Hemisphere chart. And so here's the probability. It's pretty much equal, the probability, obviously, because it's either 50-50, right, on that one. So again, what we're going to do too, so as you can see here, you have this Excel diskette. A lot of times, if you're writing a paper, we want to record this, and if you're doing a quick little study and you want to show this, you hit the Excel button, and as you can see down here, it's going to pop up a window, and it gives us all that data. So now you can save this. Now, usually what I do is I recommend, if you're doing a study, take this, save it as a Excel file, and label it diabetes. And then here you could go Jupiter. Okay, we know we're studying Jupiter, so we could go houses. Here's the other important thing, sign. Remember, we got 0, so what you do is you save it as no, you just say no results. And that way you've done signs. And then here, you can start looking at aspects. And so this is going to be our master model. I also just want to show you, if you want to play with, here's all our events. Or here, we could go minus. I'll show you, got rid of all those, calculate this. If you just want to do a study to see where everyone fell in this group, you can do this. Okay, it runs. So we got it on, obviously our important events are going to be important ones, but here we're looking at all the events. So if you just want to pull up an Excel here and just look at the amount of occurrences you got in your own sample group here, even though they didn't rank as often or seldom, you've got your occurrences here in Jupiter in the houses. All right, so quickly again here, pull this up. We could do aspects. Now, you can even do midpoints if you're into it, and you create your midpoints and the different harmonics if you want to get into that kind of study. So let's look at aspects. Aspects are also important. So, And again, you can control planets and have other settings. Are they separating? Use separating, use applying, use both. Does it matter? Okay, so since we're studying Jupiter, we're going to look at Jupiter making all these aspects here to these other planets. So clear, I'm only going to look at the planets. I could get rid of Jupiter because Jupiter's not going to aspect itself. And what that gives me is a list of Jupiter making any aspect to the other planets. Now, if we go up here and we remember our little all-encompassing square here, for this one, I am going to get rid of the parallels. And so we have our aspects. You click on that little star, and we might be concerned whether Jupiter makes any aspect to the sun. Jupiter makes any aspect to the moon. So we add that there. So then we run that, and as you can see, there's a lot of calculations. There's 400,000 calculations. So, and it's happening in a split second. My machine's a bit slow. If you got a faster machine, then it's going to crank. Otherwise, it's going to be a really slow moving green bar. Okay, so that's all events. Let's see what comes up as important. And none come up as important. Interesting. None of these aspects come up as important. Okay, this happened to me before. I'm going to log out and start it up again. My machine, I've been having trouble with it. It's got some memory leaks. So let's review. We go from File, Diabetes. We pick up our diabetes file. Delete doubles. Okay, got that. Here, we're going to pick up our aspects. And then we're going to do our rid of the parallels. Oh, silly me. Here, why don't I just pull up the one I've done? Jupiter aspects. Okay. Break, no standard, sorry. Always remember to click the no standard when you reload. There we go. chi-squared 3, boom. Okay. Yeah, my machine's been running kind of silly. Now, this comes up as an important aspect. However, when we look at it down here, it doesn't. So it's kind of read in the one below it. The other thing I forgot to mention too is you see this diskette here. This is the results that we get. So this is what we want to use when we're running the neural net. So it's always important to save it. So I create a results folder and I save the results here. Oh, wait a second. I just realized I didn't put 50. Yeah, so then we calculate again. So again, the results, it's important to save the results because that's what we want to do when we build the neural net. And again, all of this, sure, it's good to see what comes up as a high contributor or not, but it's also important to build up the model for the neural net, and that's usually what we want to get. And we'll have a whole section on the neural net as well. Okay, so there we go. So here's our chi-squared 3 cutoff. We save these results in the results file, and then we could call up those results later. So when you have your full model, yeah, and again, when you save these, here's our Jupyter model. I've got diabetes. I called it diabetes, and it pulls up the file. You can save them all, and you can bring them all up. Let me show you another example here. So again, you continue through and you build up all this until you've got you're ready to run the neural net. So let's clear this data group. Now I'm going to show you doctors. Data files. So here are all my doctors. I got 258 doctors. Now we can choose a control group from the file. And if we go back to our doctors there, you'll see I created a file called CG for control group doctors. Now it's going to read in all the doctors. Now watch what happens here. Control group charts. Oh, tell me that. Oh, I thought I created a file. Let me try that again. Control group. I thought. I was rushing just before this meeting, and there. That's better. So what it's done is it's created analyze charts. Oops, hang on. Let's try that again. Sorry, I screwed up there. Doctors. So doctors, here's our test group. There, 258. Now, control group from file, I'm going to select control group from file. There we go. I think I was hitting the wrong button previously there, doctors. Now here's our control group. There, sorry. Here we go. So you see down here, here's our analyzed charts, and you now see there's 5,337 control group charts. Now, that control group, what I did was I created a control group. Okay, so we know all these people here are doctors on this list. So we know that they're professional doctors and not the run-of-the-mill back alley doctor. Okay, so these are professional doctors. My control group, in the data file, I just went randomly. I picked out some musicians. I picked up prostitutes. I picked up engineers. I picked up bankers. I picked up some financial people and created a control group of people who are not doctors. So this is actually a good test. The one problem when you're running medical, a lot of people have the potential to get cancer. A lot of people have the potential to have diabetes. They might not have it right at this moment, but they might develop it. So with something like career, if you're testing career, now you've got a set group of people who have, are A, doctors, and then this group here that B, are not doctors. Now, in this, okay, so let's check this out. So we come back here. We're going to look at position. So obviously, what sign are you? And a lot of people look at signs as being as a potential for career. And again, so here's our zodiac. We add to the list, and then we can do, um, cardinal signs. Remember, click that gray thing. We could do succeeding signs. Cadence signs, add to the list. Now you see you have that little blank there. That was when I missed on pressing the button. Fire signs. Now, as you go along, you could create your own little library here and pull up these models. But for the sake of demonstration, I'm showing you how to do this. And water. Okay, so you see that little blank there? Let's get rid of that. Okay, so now we have a set control group. And so this is going to be a very good test to see how doctors fare against these other professions. So as you can see, doctors come up with Capricorn as strong. Not much in fire signs. Doctors, Aries don't really score that high. Let's see, Sun in Gemini for doctors, obviously working with your hands. That kind of makes sense. Not much in Sagittarius. Air signs, because they got to think and be on the spot. And earth signs, because they're dealing with physical things. So those make sense, right? So again, what you would do is you'd create your Excel, save that so that you can look at it and you want it to present this. Calculate. And now again, we can do a lot of different things. There's interesting stuff you could do here, like days of the week. Is there, this is just for fun. Are doctors born on a particular day of the week? No, doctors are not born on a particular day of the week. So, there's a lot of interesting little studies you could do in there. You can look at the dispositors. The dispositor of the 10th house cusp. Oh, I got classical there. You can run that, but that's all right. No, we're actually set up for modern, so that wouldn't work. No, actually, it would work. Sorry, I lied. But anyway, we're set up for modern. We're going to look at modern. Yeah, let's see. Dispositor of the 10th house. Oh, okay. So look, here's an interesting result. The dispositor of the 10th house is in Aries ruled sign. Or dispositor is Mars. So surgery, caring, nurturing. Interesting. Let's see, what else can we do here? So again, you can play with all these. You can look for stelliums. You can look at for planetary phases. If what's the planet rising before or after? You can look at again aspects, patterns. You can plug in patterns. Oh, I wanted to show you one other thing. Right. Planetary picture. Planetary picture. Okay, if you're concerned, let's say you're doing the part of fortune. The part of fortune. You could set up part of Cancer, part of all your Arabic parts. If you got custom ones, you could set up your own planetary picture here. So you do it by, let's clear that. So you could do the Sun minus Saturn. Oops, clear. Let's try that again. Sun, add that, minus Mars, minus Neptune, or plus Neptune, whatever. You could create your picture and add that. And then when you do aspects, you could pick your planetary picture here, and it'll come up to see if the doctors are part of Doctor, if there's a part of Doctor, who knows. What else can we do here? I also wanted to show you, that reminded me, there's something else. There's that. You can, let's do quickly on house positions. Position. So with doctors, let's see if doctors are 12th house, 6th house axis. Because it's service and health, the 6th house, 12th house institutions. There we go. So doctors usually have more in the 7th house, not as much in the 11th house, and not as much in the 5th. So the 11th, 5th is seldom, and whereas the occurrence here to the control group, you can see it's higher. It's often 4.6 chi-squared is pretty high. Anyway, that's the basically, in a nutshell, how you work on developing models. So as you go, then what you do is you create them. So if we go back to, okay, I want control group general. If we go to diabetes, from file, we're going to go back to our diabetics here. Load all my diabetics. So you go through all your analysis and generate and set our control group to 50. Now I'm going to call up the model, and I did Venus model. So this is the results for my Venus model. Venus. So I did Venus because that's the other one that causes, according to Rex Bill, and that's what causes diabetes. So so you run through, you go through the aspects. As you can see here, I've got the different degrees, different positions. Sun rising before Venus was one of the ones that resulted in high diabetes. So you can see that it's only reduced to the aspects, only the ones that came up as significant. So I run this again. And so you see everything here comes up. So let's get rid of that. I'm going to quickly plug in my computer. So that's basically, in a nutshell, how to develop your model. So then you're ready to run a neural net. And I'll just give you a little teaser on a neural net. Here's what we have in the neural net. So after you've done that, you run your neural net model creator, and then what you can do is you can check. Now we've got here's a breast cancer model that I've run. And this is what we want to have when we run the neural net. And then we'll get into this later, but here's people who have breast cancer. And this is the ultimate goal of running the FAST research. A is to find out, yeah, sure, you got that, but this is also what we want to find, is we want to develop a model. So I've got all these people who have breast cancer. As you can see, it signifies that, we got full red here, that the model is actually able to pick up the fact that these people have breast cancer. And when we run the analysis against people who don't have breast cancer, again, cancer is kind of tricky too, because these people here all have different types of cancer. So some things get picked up. Oh, sorry, I'm using the wrong one here. I've got so many breast cancer. There we go. There. So as you can see here, it doesn't pick up much on these people here. Some get picked up, but it's generally white. Whereas if you look at the people here who have breast cancer, that's better. As you can see, it's selected all these people. Yeah, these are all my developmental models. I'm going to have to move them so don't mix them up. And then when in diabetes, let's look at our diabetes. I was running this last night, so we could come down here in diabetes and pick up all our diabetics. Now I ran diabetes. I ran, where is it? I've got 3 models here. So I did Jupiter, Venus, and then a combination of Jupiter and Venus. Now, as you can see here, there's a lot of red, but I don't consider this a good model because I'm going to show you. This is my cutoff point here, 75%. I need this to be more than 95% being greater than the 75% as to be a good model. So as you go through here, you can see there's a lot of gaps. This one's not bad. So Venus, so here's a conclusion that we could draw after running our model. Venus is better at predicting diabetes than Jupiter. And then you could combine them and have a model, and the combination of Jupiter and Venus works better than each one individually. So this is the kind of study that we want to try and do. And the thing is, if you test this against, I don't know, cancer people, not all breast cancer. Okay, so we got people with various different types of cancers. So, for diabetes, some might have diabetes, we don't know. But as you can see, it's pretty blank. And that's what we want with the control group, if we were to use that for control group. And then what you could do is then you can plug in people's data here. So, you plug in person's chart. They're born, you have a friend who was born on this day here in this place, and you hit OK, and then calculate. So they've been added here. And, oh, look, Venus predicts that they're going to have diabetes. Oh no, the new person is down here at the bottom. No name. Oh look, this person will have diabetes. So that's another thing. That's ultimately the goal that we're trying to shoot for in building these models. Again, we're Alfie and the Gators, and we're on Facebook. So look up the Astrological Investigators, and here we are on the web as well at www.astrologyinvestigators.com. I think I got that right. So that's it. We're going to come back and maybe do some additional videos for studies, and then we're going to also work on how to work with the neural net aspect. Okay, this is Franco. I'm signing off.